Welcome back to the deep dive. You know that feeling. Your inbox is just jammed, phone's constantly buzzing, every website seems to be shouting some deal at you.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
Right. That information overload, it's not just irritating, it's actually triggering something deep, like a protective shield in our brains. We're all just shutting down, filtering like crazy, ignoring basically anything that doesn't scream urgent.
And that state, that sort of brain shock you're describing, that's the absolute biggest hurdle for anyone trying to get a message across. Doesn't matter if it's a huge product launch or, just pitching an idea internally.
So what do we do about it?
Well, that's what we're diving into today. We've been digging into this framework called the Brain Audit. It lays out this systematic psychological blueprint for communicating effectively. It's not just guesswork. It's really based on how the customer's brain predictably processes information.
Okay, a blueprint. I like that. So how does it work? What's the core idea?
The main metaphor they use, which I think is brilliant, is the conveyor belt system.
Picture waiting for your luggage at the airport baggage claim.
Okay, yeah. The endless wait.
Exactly. And you're not leaving that airport until you've collected all your bags, right? Well, the customer's brain is similar. It needs to collect 7 specific red bags, 7 key pieces of information from this mental conveyor belt before it allows a purchase.
7 specific bags.
7. And if even one bag is missing, or maybe it comes out in the wrong order, the customer just stops. They hesitate. They give you the classic, "I'll think about it."
And the sale is gone. Poof.
Pretty much. The core idea here is that customer hesitation. It's not random. It's actually a measurable gap in how you're communicating. So our mission today is to figure out what those 7 bags are, and crucially, the exact sequence the brain demands them in.
Because order matters. You can't just throw all the info out there at once.
Absolutely not. If you try to give them bag 5 before they've even seen bag 1, the whole system just jams. It doesn't work. All right, let's get to bag 1 then. Where does this conveyor belt start? The source says the first thing isn't the solution, it's the problem. That feels really counterintuitive. Why start with negativity?
Well, it feels counterintuitive from a traditional marketing perspective, maybe. But think about basic human wiring. The brain evolved for survival, right? Its primary job is to scan for threats and problems.
Okay, survival instinct.
Exactly. Pain and problems are like natural magnets for our attention. You see it constantly. Think about driving. You tune out most of the traffic, don't you?
Yeah, just background noise.
Until you see those flashing lights. Police car, ambulance, boom, instant focus. Why? Because it signals a potential problem, a disruption, maybe danger. That signal cuts through everything else.
Right, you immediately pay attention to that. But I still worry, couldn't leading with the problem sound, I don't know, a bit too negative? Like you're trying to scare people into buying? Is that a turnoff?
It's only manipulative or negative if the problem you're highlighting isn't, well, real or relevant to them. The fundamental insight is that people don't really buy products or services. They buy solutions to problems. They buy relief.
Relief from pain.
Precisely. So compare these two messages. One says, excellent computer services. Generic, right? Easily ignored.
Totally. Blends right in.
Now, what if the message warns, is your computer acting sluggish? Uh-oh, that could be an early warning sign of an imminent hard disk crash. See the difference?
Yeah, that second one definitely grabs my attention, creates a sense of urgency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You've taken what might be a minor annoyance and framed it as a potential catastrophe. That's the hook. That's the bait. Problems demand attention. That's bag 1. It has to be a relevant, specific pain point.
Okay, so bag 1 is the problem, the hook that grabs attention and maybe spikes the heart rate a little. What comes next? We can't just leave them anxious.
Absolutely not. That's where bag 2 comes in immediately. The solution. If the problem gets their attention, the solution's job is to start bringing that heart rate back down. It's the anchor. It shows them, okay, there's pain, but look, salvation is right here.
An anchor. I like that. But again, we see so many generic solutions. Like if I just say professional presentation service, that doesn't feel very anchoring.
No, exactly. It's too vague. The solution needs to tie directly back to the specific pain you just agitated in bag 1. So if the problem was, my audience nods off during my presentations,
Which is a real pain point for many people.
a very real one, then your solution isn't just a generic presentation service. It's a yawn-free PowerPoint presentation system. See that? Just adding those couple words connects directly to the pain and promises relief. It changes the whole game.
Yawn free. That's specific. It anchors the relief to the problem.
Okay.
I got it. Problem, then solution. What's bag 3?
Bag 3 is the target audience. Now, we've all heard the mantra, if you target everyone, you target no one. But why is this so crucial right after the solution?
Yeah, why does it fit here specifically on the conveyor belt?
Because it's about competence and trust. Think about it. You've just shown them a problem they recognize, bag one. Then you've offered a potential way out, bag two. Now their brain immediately asks, okay, but is this solution really for someone like me?
Ah, the relevance question.
Exactly. They need to know you're not just a generalist, but a specialist for their specific situation. It's like needing brain surgery. You don't go to your regular family doctor, your GP.
No way, you want the specialist.
You want the brain surgeon. Because specialization signals expertise, higher value, and frankly, it builds trust much faster. The generalist gets okay results for everyone. The specialist gets amazing results for a specific group.
So instead of saying we sell clothes, it's more like we design rugged, comfortable workwear specifically for professional landscapers in the Pacific Northwest. Something like that.
Exactly. That level of specificity does two things. First, it makes the actual target audience feel seen and understood. They think, these guys get me.
And second,
Second, it often attracts the wannabes too, people who aspire to be part of that specific group or identify with its values. Think Volvo. They owned safety-conscious cars.
oh, everyone knew that.
Or Rolex. They clearly targeted people who buy expensive, high-status watches. That sharp focus makes you the automatic go-to choice for your niche. You've clearly defined who you serve. That's bag three.
Okay, this is starting to build. We've got problem, bag one, solution, bag two, and target audience, bag three. Pain, relief, and confirmation, this is relevant. Now, the source calls the next step, bag four, the explanation, a critical brain alchemy trigger. What kind of alchemy are we talking about here?
This is where the magic really happens, psychologically speaking. When you combine those first three bags, effectively you present a clear problem, offer a specific solution, and define the exact audience it's for. Something predictable occurs in the customer's mind.
What happened?
Their brain experiences this. Well, you could call it a curiosity gap. It's almost like cognitive dissonance. They've heard the problem, the solution, and that it's for them. Now, they are basically compelled to ask the next logical question.
Which is,
Okay, how exactly do you do that? Or maybe, wait, what do you really mean by yawn-free presentations? That how or what question is golden.
because they're leaning in, they're asking for more information. They've essentially given you permission to continue the selling process.
Exactly. They've moved from being passive listeners to active participants. But here's the crucial twist in this explanation phase, according to the source material. You don't just jump into listing features and benefits of your solution.
No, isn't that what they just asked for? How it works?
They did, but to maximize the impact, you need to do something else first. You actually need to revisit the problem. Briefly bring that pain back to the forefront. Remind them why they need this solution so badly. Amplify the urgency again.
Ah, okay. So remind them of the pain, make it vivid again, then explain how the solution eliminates that specific pain.
Precisely. If you just jump straight into the how, you lose some of that emotional momentum you built. You need to keep that urgency high. The source used a great example, first-class air travel.
Right, I remember that.
Most people in economy weren't actively thinking, man, I have a problem sitting here. Not really. But the airlines created the awareness of a problem by showcasing the luxury, space, and privilege of first class.
By showing the solution, they highlighted the hidden pain of the alternative.
Exactly. They made the problem of economy more visible, more palpable. So in your explanation, you first make sure the customer is feeling the pain sharply. Then you detail how your solution is the perfect antidote. That's bag four.
Okay, so we've got them hooked with the problem, anchored with the solution, confirmed it's for them, and explained how it works by revisiting the pain first. They should be ready to buy now, right?
Almost. But this is often where that internal voice kicks in, that little nagging doubt, the yeah, but, that can just kill the whole deal.
The hesitation moment.
Exactly. And that brings us to bag five, the biggest objection. Now, the biggest mistake most people make here is they wait. They wait for the customer to actually voice their concern or objection.
Why is waiting a mistake? Isn't it better to let them bring it up?
Not according to this framework. The moment the customer states their objection out loud, yeah, but it seems too expensive, or yeah, but I don't have time to implement this, the dynamic shifts. Now it's you versus them. They feel like they have to defend their position, their skepticism.
Becomes adversarial.
Right. So the strategy here is pretty radical, actually. You need to anticipate their single biggest objections,
Yeah.
the main fear holding them back, and you bring it up yourself, proactively.
Whoa, okay. bring up my own product's potential weakness or the biggest hurdle, doesn't that just plant doubt in their mind if maybe they weren't even thinking about it?
It might seem risky, but framed correctly, it actually does the opposite. It builds massive trust. It shows you understand their concerns, you're transparent, and you're not afraid to tackle the tough questions. You're demonstrating expertise about the real challenges.
Okay. So how do you do that without shooting yourself in the foot?
The source recommends a specific technique, often called the feel, felt, found method. It's very empathetic. You basically acknowledge their feeling. I understand completely why you might feel that this seems like a significant investment.
Okay, validate the feeling.
Then you connect with past experiences. Actually, many of our best clients felt the exact same way when they first started. This shows it's a common, understandable concern.
Normalizes their hesitation.
Exactly. And then you pivot to the outcome. But what they found was that after implementing this, the return on investment actually covered the cost within, say, 3 months, and the time saved was enormous.
Feel, felt, found. That takes the confrontation out of it. It's not you arguing, it's you sharing a relatable story.
Precisely. And here's a really critical insight about objections, especially the price one. Most people assume price is the #1 deal killer.
Yeah, seems logical. It costs too much.
But the source argues quite strongly that price usually comes, and I love this quote, 7th in a list of 6, meaning it's often a smokescreen.
Really? 7th in a list of 6, so what's the real issue then?
Risk and perceived value. When someone says it's too expensive, they often mean, I'm not convinced the value I'll get outweighs the risk of this not working or the risk of spending this money. If you proactively tackle the risk, bag 5, and demonstrate overwhelming value, which comes through the whole process, that price objection often just evaporates.
Okay, tackling the biggest objection proactively with feel, felt, found that deals with the primary risk. But there's still that lingering fear, isn't there? The fear of being the first one, the test subject.
Yes, the guinea pig fear. That's absolutely real, and it leads us directly to bag 6, the case study. Or you could call it proof. After you've got with their main objection, they need reassurance that other people like them, have already taken this leap and survived, and hopefully thrived.
Okay. Social proof, essentially. But we're not just talking about those generic 5-star blurbs you see everywhere, right? Like, they were great, highly recommend. That doesn't really cut it for deep-seated fear.
No, absolutely not. Those are fine, but they lack depth. We're talking about something much more powerful, what the source calls a reverse testimonial.
A reverse testimonial, what's that?
It's a case study that mirrors the customer's entire journey, including their initial skepticism. It doesn't just start with a happy ending. It starts where the prospect is now maybe feeling doubtful or hesitant.
So a really effective case study needs to touch on the previous bags.
Exactly. It should ideally include, what was the client's specific problem before they started? Bag 1. Which target audience did they belong to? Bag 3. What was their biggest objection or fear before signing up? Bag 5. And then, what were the concrete, specific, positive results they achieved? Connecting back to the solution, bag 2.
Okay, so it starts with skepticism and ends with success. It validates the prospect's own doubts before showing the positive outcome.
Precisely. It needs to show that journey from hesitation to achievement. That before and after narrative is incredibly compelling because the prospect sees themselves in the before state.
And for listeners thinking, yeah, but I don't have testimonials like that, the advice seems pretty simple, right? You probably just haven't asked the right questions.
That's usually the core issue. You can't just ask, hey, were we good? You need to guide them to tell the story. Ask things like, what were your biggest concerns or doubts before we started working together? Or can you describe the problem you were facing back then? And how has our solution specifically addressed that initial problem or fear? And then what specific results have you seen?
Engineer the questions to get that reverse testimonial structure. That makes sense. That provides the proof and kills the guinea pig fear.
Right. So think about where we are. We've systematically addressed their pain, offered a tailored solution, explained it clearly, proactively removed their biggest fear, and provided compelling proof that others have succeeded. The customer is logically and emotionally primed. They're basically at the checkout counter.
Ready to go. But wait, there's one more bag. Bag 7. If they're ready, why do we need another one?
Because of one final, crucial question lurking in their mind. Okay, I'm convinced I need a solution like this, but why should I buy it from you specifically and not one of your competitors? If you haven't answered that, you might have just done all the hard work for someone else.
Ah, the differentiation point.
Yeah.
This must be the unique selling proposition, the USP.
Exactly. Bag 7 is the USP. And a true USP has to live up to all three parts of its name. It must be genuinely unique, something only you offer or claim in a specific way. It must be selling, meaning it clearly communicates a benefit the customer cares about. And it has to be a real proposition, a clear offer or promise.
People often mistake features for USPs, don't they?
All the time. A feature is just what your product has. A benefit is what the customer gets from that feature. A USP is why they absolutely must get that benefit from you and nobody else. It's your distinct advantage.
So how do you find or create that uniqueness?
Well, sometimes you can literally create it out of thin air through a guarantee or a unique process. The classic example is Domino's Pizza back in the day.
30 minutes or it's free.
Exactly. No one else owns speed like that. They made delivery time their unique battleground. Or, and this is probably more relevant for many businesses, you can find uniqueness within your existing product or process, even if competitors do something similar, just by being the first or the clearest to articulate it.
Like the Schlitz beer example from the source, that one was fascinating.
Brilliant example. Schlitz was lagging, like fifth in the market. All the breweries were claiming their beer was pure. It was basically meaningless noise.
Just a generic claim.
Right. But Schlitz took a tour of their brewery and learned about all the steps they took to ensure purity, the plate glass rooms, the filtered air, sterilizing bottles 4 times. Stuff other breweries probably did too. But Schlitz was the first to talk about it in detail. They explained the how.
They turned an industry standard into a unique story.
Exactly. And they shot from number 5 to number 1. They didn't necessarily change their beer. They changed their communication to highlight inherent uniqueness. They proved the claim.
That's powerful. So the real test for a USP is?
The source gives a great litmus test. Write down your supposed USP on a piece of paper. Now, mentally or literally, slap your biggest competitor's logo over yours. Does the statement still fundamentally work for them? If yes, it's not truly unique yet. It needs to be something only you can credibly promise or deliver in that specific way. Think Subway's less than 6 grams of fat for specific sandwiches competitors couldn't easily match that precise claim across the board back then. That was unique.
Wow. Okay, so that's the final piece. Bag 7, the USP answers why you and locks in the decision.
If you've delivered all 7 bags in the right sequence, you've essentially walked the customer through their brain's natural decision-making process. Problem, solution, target audience, explanation, objection handled, proof provided, and finally the unique reason to choose you.
It really paints a picture of the customer's mind, not as this chaotic, unpredictable thing, but as something, well, more logical and predictable than we might think. You've systematically cleared the path, removed all those mental roadblocks, the yeah, buts.
Exactly. You've aligned your communication with their psychology. And maybe here's a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on based on this deep dive. We've established that human psychology really leans into avoiding pain.
Right.
It's a more powerful driver than seeking pleasure, often.
The survival instinct again.
So here's a challenge. Take a hard look at your own communications right now, whether it's your website, your sales pitch, even how you talk about your department's work. Find one place where you're currently focused on selling the solution, the features, the benefits.
Which is what most of us naturally do.
Right. Find that place and ask yourself, have I truly, explicitly, and maybe even dramatically elevated the problem that this solution solves? Have I made the pain visible and urgent before offering the relief?
Turn that maybe latent fear or annoyance into something they feel needs solving now.
Precisely. Try applying just that one shift from the Brain Audit framework. Elevate the problem. See if it doesn't change the dynamic and turn that slow, hesitant conveyor belt into a much faster path to action.
A fascinating framework. Thanks for diving deep with us today.